Activists are this afternoon protesting against the country's electricity crisis. They are calling for Mineral Resources Minister Gwede Mantashe to resign. They say he's a stumbling block to the implementation of renewable energy supply in this country. Let's get you a live update. In the capital, Pretoria, we've got our reporter Malungelo Booi, who's been tracking that demonstration, Malu. And this is not the first group to call for the resignation of Minister Gwede Mantashe, and even the Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan, management at Eskom as well. Why do they think their protest will be effective?
Well, that's $1 million question, really, Tembi, as you rightfully indicated. I mean, this is one of the many protests that we've seen here at the union buildings, with people coming here calling for the sacking of these two ministers that you've already mentioned. But this time around, we're seeing activists, especially from many communities around Johannesburg, and also we saw some coming from as far as Cape Town, calling for the resignation of the Minister of Mineral Resources, Gwede Mantashe, but also saying that there's an urgent need for the South African government to come up with an emergency renewable energy plan, Tembi, to be able to deal with the country's energy crisis. You know, we've been from stage 1 and then get pumped up to stage 6, and experts are already saying that when the country is in stage 6, we lose about what? 4 to 6 billion rand in the country's GDP. Well, let's bring in some of those that were protesting. I want to bring in Tandile from Greenpeace. Tandile, thank you so much for your time. One of the things that's clear here is that you perceive Gwede Mantashe as a stumbling block. I want you to explain that to me. Why do you see Gwede Mantashe is a stumbling block when it comes to renewable energy in this country?
Well, he's actively presented himself as such. On a number of occasions, he has positioned himself against civil society, against renewable energy, and has stated that civil society will be met with political response for our requests for renewable energy to be brought online. He has, on a number of occasions, stated that he is for coal, and the way that we perceive him to be acting is that he's a coal fundamentalist. He wants to ensure that we don't ever move away from coal, and as such has also been prioritizing gas in our energy mix. And we want him to recognize that the solution to this problem is renewable energy, and we need that to be brought online right now.
But must he be fired?
Yes, definitely. I think if he cannot allow us to have energy online, clearly the load shedding is indicating that there's some sort of a disconnect there with what people need, or a disconnect with what the role requires. So we need to find somebody who can actually prioritize social justice, and who can prioritize having electricity at the end of the day.
Let's decode then for me this emergency renewable energy plan. What is it exactly? What does it look like for an ordinary South African?
So basically, the ordinary South African has been dealing with the issue of load shedding for something like 15 years, but the issue has been there for a lot longer. We knew from 1998 that they were already warned that this was going to be a challenge, and yet they didn't take the necessary action then to rectify it. So for the average South African person, it would be able to having access to decentralized energy, whether it's through those solar panels that people have. But we definitely want to have a renewable energy brought online, which can be achieved within the next 18 months. That's how long it takes the projects to come along, to come to fruition, as opposed to these coal and gas projects that our government's pursuing that could take lead times of 5 to 10 years in some cases. And of course, with our government, we know we tend to have cost overruns, time overruns. This solution will not be solved by a coal-fired power station. It will not be solved by Kapowership's 20-year deal. That's just going to lock us into a high emissions trajectory. It's going to lock us into stranded assets, and it's going to lock us into a deal with a rental of a ship that does not belong to us. So we need them to invest in our infrastructure.
But there's also been this argument, though, Tandile, that, we can implement renewable energy, but it still won't solve the energy crisis that we're facing as the country.
Well, actually, from the research that's been put out, of course, you've heard about the Meridian Economic Study that said that a retrospective study, 2021, our load shedding could have been solved had we had the 5 gigawatts of renewable energy that was supposed to be online. So it's a step. People are going to say, no, this won't help, but this is a solution for something that we can start now. renewable energies along with battery storage is the direction that the world is going in. It's the direction that will allow us to have some stability to our system. Of course, we understand the needs for an energy mix, but there's wind, there's solar, there's a number of energy resources that they could adopt. And of course, we obviously always hear the argument that we need to exploit our resources. We've got resources like sunshine in abundance right now, and it's going to waste, and we seem to not be concerned about not being able to exploit that resource.
Do you think there's no political will to addressing this issue?
There definitely isn't political will, and that's what we want. That's why we're here. We want to see our leaders we want to see our president put in a leader that is actually prioritized with social justice and prioritized with giving energy to people, because that's a fundamental right that we have, and that's not being fulfilled. So we want to see leaders that actually prioritize that for us.
Thank you so much, Thandile Chinyavanu. She's from Greenpeace Africa. It's also interesting, Thembi, if you read the 2003 white paper on renewable energy, it also speaks really to government, saying that government must do everything possible to invest resources in renewable energy. And of course, activists feel like government is really not doing anything at all to make sure that we have that energy mix and also deal with this problem of load shedding in South Africa. Thembi?
Malungelo, Booi reporting live for us in the capital, Pretoria. Malu, thank you.